to Comic Land, it's Leila here from the Comic Connection with this week's comic book reviews. And we're first up, we've got Ultimate Fallout number 4 by Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli. So this is it, this is the big one. This is where the new Spider-Man is revealed.
Eddie Brock.
So Peter Parker is dead, but Spider-Man's legacy lives on, and a new Spider-Man is protecting the streets now. And just like Peter, there are some growing pains in the beginning. Meanwhile, a reporter is on the verge of uncovering a huge secret, something that will change the understanding, or our understanding, about the appearance of mutants. Okay, so first of all, it was kind of disappointing that the contents of this book were revealed the night before the book even came out. So for comic book fans, like, I didn't even try to look for it, and then I was like, the new Spider-Man is blah, 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 blah.
You suck, New York Times.
You suck, New York Times. But it was interesting to go through and read it. I didn't have a really big reaction about who the new Spider-Man is, because honestly, I haven't been following this that much. What I did find more interesting was the other story that was running through about revealing sort of the beginning of mutant heritage, which is very interesting and is forming, you know, everything that they're using for the Marvel Universe movies at the moment. So the fact that they're playing on that, I thought was really cool, and that was the more interesting part of the book to me. The Spidey stuff was kind of meh, which is really, you know, weird since this is supposed to be all about the Deathly Spider-Man. But, you know, other than that, it was, you know, decently drawn and fairly well written. It's just, you know, my reaction to the new Spider-Man is like, well, ho-hum. I guess we'll see how it plays out when the new Ultimate Spider-Man starts with this Spider-Man. But to me, so far, it seems like sort of a gimmicky move for what they've chosen, and I'm not sure if I like that. But overall, it's different to see someone different in the suit, and I'm looking forward to the possibilities that that provides. And hopefully Marvel makes it really interesting to read. Next up, we've got The Infinite by Robert Kirkman and Rob Liefeld. So, Bowen and Case are the leaders of a resistance force out to stop the evil Imperius, but they fail. Now Bowen must regroup, and he goes back in time to form a stronger resistance to try and stop the Infinite. So, this was surprisingly good. I mean, not surprising that, you know, Robert Kirkman wrote something that was, you know, very interesting and good, but it was surprising that I enjoyed Liefeld's art, and that he didn't ruin it for me. It was actually really good. If you like, you know, action, adventure, that time traveling paradox thing and all that, you'll probably like this one. It's extremely well written and well drawn as well. So, you know, I don't pick up books by Image that often, but this one was pretty good. Next up, we've got Severed by Scott Snyder, Scott Tuft, and Attila Futaki. After receiving a note from a mysterious stranger, Jack Guerin recalls a time when he was a kid, a time before he lost his arm. His wife and son thinks he lost it in the war, but the truth is a lot more horrifying. I liked it. This was really good. This is one of those classic tales of things that go bump in the night, that kind of thing. If you like suspense and horror, this is the book for you. Really masterfully drawn out story, which has surprises in it, and I really thought the art suited the style of the book. This was surprisingly good. If you get a chance to read Severed, check it out. And last but not least, this is Star Wars Dark Times Out of the Wilderness #1 by Randy Stradley and Douglas Wheatley. So in this one, Darth Vader is scouring the galaxy for the Jedi Das Jenner, and the crew of the Umahamili are doing the same. Meanwhile, Jenner, we find out how Jenner left Telerath and who he left with and why. This was pretty interesting. It was okay. The problem with it is that I feel like there's a lot of backstory that if you haven't been reading all of the sort of Dark Times stuff leading up to this, you're going to be kind of lost. At least that's how I felt, that they were making references to things that I hadn't really followed, and since I hadn't followed all the books, there was just pieces missing. Overall, it's well written and drawn. I think you have to, again, be a fan of this series, first of all, to follow it. Me, I was like, ooh, Darth Vader's in it, let's read it. So, I mean, it was pretty good. I think it'll be a lot better for the people who have been reading Dark Times all this time. See you next week.
Hey folks, Jim here with this week's comic book reviews. First up we have Diary of a Zombie Kid, written and drawn by Fred Perry and David Hutchison. And in this one, middle school is hard for anyone, but for Bill Stokes it's an undead nightmare. When his mom is forced to make ends meet by volunteering for medical research, which would be fine if she hadn't brought home a zombie virus, now Bill has to deal with a host of new problems that make puberty look like a walk in the park. If you're a fan of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and a fan of zombies, you're absolutely gonna love this. This is a fun little book that's pretty much perfect for anyone that's aged 10 and over. There's no violence or really bad stuff going on here, just a few gross segments, but you know kids, they do love to eat worms, so if you have kids and they love zombies, try this book out, they'll probably really enjoy it. Next up we have Rachel Rising, number 1, written and drawn by Terry Moore. And in this one, Rachel is a young woman that wakes up one morning in the woods and realizes that she's sitting on a freshly dug shallow grave. Her grave. From there, Rachel tries to figure out just what happened to her and what she may be becoming. Terry Moore, you never ever disappoint. Another fantastic story. Simply wonderful storytelling, as always, from Terry Moore. Great art. You can't go wrong with a Terry Moore book. This one's really intriguing me. I really want to see where this one goes. It's simply wonderful. So if you want to try something out, please do, because as always, Terry Moore is fantastic. Next up, we have Girls of Steampunk, the Summer Catalog, written and drawn by Brian Denham, Rod Espinoza, and a couple others. And in this one, it's basically just pinups of the ladies of steampunk and a preview of Gearhart's, the photo book that's coming out this December from AP. It's okay. If you love your steampunk, you're going to love this. It's really some really nice art, but there's no story, so there's nothing really to review other than the art. And as always, the art is fantastic. There's some really great pinups in this, so check it out if you get a chance. And last, and certainly not least, is Mystic, number 1, written by G. William Wilson, with art by David Lopez. And in this one, two seemingly normal orphan girls find their lives turned upside down after escaping their orphanage and traveling to the palace to possibly be the new apprentice of the High Artisan. But only one can be chosen, and the other will take a darker path. Having never read the original Mystic from CrossGen, I came into this blind. I actually really enjoyed it. The story is, well, certainly not original because the orphan thing has been done to death, but it's a lot of fun. Really beautiful art by Lopez. Story-wise, it's okay. As I said, not wholly original at all, but it is a lot of fun. If you want to try something a little different, try this one out. It's pretty fun. We'll see you next week.